Good morning, children. Let me take the lesson for 8th standard in English. Unit 3. This is supplementary. The 3 questions. The story is about a king. So, he need the answer for the 3 questions. And the 3 questions, nobody answered him properly. In the king, there is court members are there. He asked the answers from the court members. Everyone has said different answers. He could not find the answers, correct answers. He is not satisfied with the answers. Then he went to the hermit. Hermit, is a sannyasi, we used to say in Tamil. He went to the hermit. The hermit also did not reply him immediately when he asked the questions. Because of the situations, though he is a king, he forgot that he is the king. He helped the people. He did the work what all the saint did. So then the saint hermit said, "This is the answer for your questions." Okay. So what are the characters? Who are the characters here? The king. The characters we have to see first. Then how many questions he had? 3 questions. Okay. Next, who are all to be answered? All his court ministers. That is ministers, court members. And finally he went to the hermit. And while he went to the hermit, when he was staying with the hermit, he met his enemy, that is foe. Though he doesn't know that he is enemy, he helped the enemy and he saved the life of him. And then only hermits give the answer for the king's questions. Okay, shall we go to the lesson? There was a king who had 3 questions in his mind. How many questions? 3 questions. That if he always knew the right time to begin everything. The first question is right time. He wants to know the right time to begin everything. First question. Clear? And the second one is right time to begin everything. And if we know who were the right people to listen to, who are the right people to listen to, and listen to whom avoid. If you all know what was the most important thing is, he would never fail anything he might undertake. So what are the questions? First one is, what was the right time for every action, for everything? Who were the most necessary people? And how he might know what was the most important thing? So 3 questions what he got in his mind is the right time. What's the right time to begin every action? And who is the right people to listen to and whom he has to avoid? And what was the most important thing? Dear children, these 3 questions are nagging in his mind and he is asking all his court members. Everybody has said different reply. So let us see what are the replies of them. The reply to the first question. What's the first question? What's the right time to begin every action? Some said to know the right time for every action, one must draw up in advance a table of days. That is, we have to see the calendar. We have to see which is the correct date. Table of days means what? Calendar. They have to verify the calendars, years, and then they have to do the work. They could everything to be done at the proper time. Then if you are watching the calendar, and according to the calendar, best time, best day, according to that we can do. Like that, first question is answered by the court members. Other declared that it was impossible to decide beforehand the right time for every action. So, one group of people, they said, the minister has to verify the timetable, that is calendar, and they can find out the correct time to do. And other people said, that is not in our hands, it's in the God hand only. We cannot decide the time and day. Like that, other people said. So, he is not satisfied by the reply of the first question. Not letting one absorb the past tense. Others again say like that. So these were the first question answered. And second question, So, they given different question. For the third question, what is the second question? Right people to listen to. They say it is highly impossible to find out who is the correct person, who is not correct person. Somebody said, well, we cannot say this person is the correct person we have to talk to. First question answered like that. One sort of people said they have to depend on the calendar. Other sort of the people said that's not in our hand. So we cannot judge which is the correct time. Like that they say. For the second question, whom the right people to listen to, the same like different opinion. First one sort of people said, we cannot say these are the important people, these are the correct people, there is error in every side. Like that they said. They are not giving the proper reply. So what they said, it was impossible for one man to decide correctly the right time for every action, that he should have a council. With the help of council only they can do the work. They can say like this. Equally, various answers for the second question. How they got different answers from the second question. First question the same, like he got different answers for the second question. Some said the king most needed were his counselors. So who are the important people? So some people said the king need his counselors. Priest means what? That is those who are depending on the religions. Priest, they are the in charge of the religion. Doctors, while some of them said warriors. So what's the answer for that? Some people said he has to depend on his priest, doctors and court members. And other people said we should not depend on all those things. We have to depend on the warriors because he is the king. Warriors means what? Soldiers. He has to depend on the warriors. Okay. So he got two questions, different answers. For the third question, and what was the most important thing? Some said the most important thing is occupation. Occupation means what? We are doing our duties, no? We are doing work. So maybe teachers, doctor, engineers, this and all what? Occupation. The work what you are doing is known as occupation. So English general question will be, what is your father? What you have to say for that? You shouldn't say that your father is working. What is he? Maybe he is the clerk, he is the manager, he is the editor, is the proofreader. Like that you have to say. What's the designation of him? You have to say. Clear, children? So, what's the answer for that? Third question they said the important thing is occupation. Some said the important thing of the world was science. And others said it's the skill in warfare. Warfare means what? How to fight in the battlefield. Then somebody people said it is the important thing is religious worship. Worship means what? Praying God. What God you are praying, you have to pray according to that. So, the king got three questions and he got different answers. The case of first one, they said they have to depend on the calendar, and they said they have to depend on a group of ministers, and somebody said there is nothing in our hand, everything in God's hand. The second question, right people to listen to. Somebody said warriors, then other people said doctors, then other people, remaining people said some other professionals, that is the court ministers, council members, like that. Because there are different replies, the king get confused and is not satisfied with those answers. All the answers being different, the king agreed with none of them. None of them means what? He has not accepted the answer for everyone. And he gave the reward to none. He has not given any prizes because he is not satisfied. But still watching to find the right answer to his questions, he decided to consult a hermit. Hermit, I said already, he is the important person. They are doing, that is meditations. They will be in the forest. They used to be in the forest. They don't like the luxurious life like us. So they are sannyasis actually. They are living in the forest, praying the God and doing their work. He went to the hermit. All the answers being different, the hermit lived in a hut which he never quitted, and he received none but common folk. So where was the hermit? He was in the wood. Wood means what? Forest. The hermit is living in the forest. Where we can see the wood? The forest only. The group of trees you can see only in the forest. So what kind of hermit he is? He never likes the luxurious people, the kings and others and all. He always likes only the normal people like us. Okay. The hermit lived behind. When the king approached, the hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. Seeing the king, he greeted him and went on digging. The king went and he stood in front of the hermit, not replied to him properly. Though he is the king, is nothing for the hermit, but for the courtesy sake. Courtesy means what? In the respect sake, he just wished the king and he was going on doing the work. What work he was doing? He was just digging the pit. Digging, digging means what? That is, in Tamil we have to say that as thondradhu, pallam thondrapadi pandradhu digging. By using the spade, he is digging a pit. Okay, he never answered he never gave the response to the king. The hermit was frail and weak, and each time he stuck his spade into the ground and turned a little earth. He was very weak, he could not do the work properly. This week means the 7 days a week. Listen to what? Homonyms. WEAK, week means weak, not fit, not strong. Okay, so the baby was every time he's digging, it's just going little away from there. So on saying that, king went to help him. The king went up to him and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer 3 questions. The king said, king was waiting for some time, the hermit didn't notice, he just wished only. He went and asked, how can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? First question is what? Right time to do the right thing. Who are the people I most need? And whom should I therefore pay the more attention to the rest? And what are the most important and need for my first attention? He is asking the 3 questions what I have written on the board again. The hermit listened to the king but answered nothing. He just listened and heard all the questions. He just paid on his hand and recommended digging. He is going on digging. Then king said, you are tired, said the king. Let me take the spade and work away for you. Spade means what? That is in the Gadaparan Solum Paranga Tamila. He was digging the thing. What king said? You are so tired because you are lean. No, you never said like that. By digging, you have become very tired. Just give it to me. I will help you. Who said? King said. The hermit also happily gave the spade to him. He said, thanks. Giving the spade to the king, he sat down on the ground. When he had dug 2 beds, the king stopped and repeated his question. Only 2 inches he was digging. The picture is given in front, you see. He was digging for the 2 inches and again asked the same questions. What are the 3 questions he asked the king? That is, right time to begin the right action, right people to listen to. What was the most important thing for the king? He asked. The hermit again gave no answer, but rose, stretched out his hand for the spade and said, now rest a while and let me work a bit. The hermit, he just got down from the ground and he went near the king and he said, okay, I am doing the work, you take rest for some time. But the king did not give him spade and continued to dig. He is not tired of. Who is not tired of? The king. 1 hour passed and another. 2 hours it became. The sun began to sink behind the trees and the king at last stuck the spade into the ground and said, he was digging the pit for entirely and he was asking, I came to you for answer my questions. If you can give me none, tell me so and I will return home. What he said? I am not coming to play with you. I am just came here to find out the answer. If you know the answer, you tell me. Or else you say, I don't know the answer. I will go home. I will go to my palace. King said like that. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. Let us see who it is. That time they were talking like that. A person is running very fastly. And king said, okay, a man is running towards us. We'll see who's that man. Okay, I'll continue the lesson. Afterwards, we'll go for the question and answers. The king turned, this is section 2. Clear, children? Again the second time the king asked, what's happened? Why you are not answered me? If you don't know the answer, you tell me, I'll go to my palace. The hermit never replied to him and he said, okay, first we'll see the person who is running towards us. A man was running towards hermit and king. The king turned around and saw a bearded man running out of the wood. The man held his hand pressed against his stomach and blood was flowing under them. He was pressing the stomach like that and was running. Boy is pressing this thing. Somebody stabbed him. Stabbed means what? The kattiyala kuttara. The kuttara da ungalku enna solluvo, stabbing. He bleeded. So he was closing his thing. Blood is oozing out. No, just he closed the wound and he was running. When he reached the king, he fell fainting on the ground, moaning feebly. Feebly means what? Very weakly. You could not say, even we cannot guess out what the words are. The king and the hermit unfastened the man's clothing. Immediately they both rushed to the man. They removed the cloths. There was a large wound in his stomach. Large wound means what? Biggest wound. The king washed it as best he could and bandaged it with handkerchief and with the towel the hermit had. Immediately he washed the blood stain and all. He closed with the handkerchief and hermit gave a towel. They tied up the wounded part to stop the bleeding. And again removed the bandage soaked with warm blood and washed. He rebandaged the wound again and again. Because big wound, no, the blood flows like anything. So they were going on changing the bandage and doing off. The man revived and asked for something to drink. The wounded man is asking something for the drink. The king brought fresh water and gave it to him. What's the thing given to him? Fresh water. Meanwhile, the sun had set and it had become cool. The morning they started the work. The king came in the morning to get the answers from the hermit. He didn't even say the answer. In the meantime, a person rushed out like that. Clear, children. Sunset. And it had become cool. So the king with the hermit's help carried the wounded man into the hut and laid him in the bed. What the king said? King with the help of hermit. The wounded man. Who is the third person now? The wounded man. That is, he is the enemy of the king. The wounded man. Wounded man, they both joined together, lifted him and kept him on the bed. Lying on the bed, the man closed his eyes and was quiet. But the king was so tired from his work and from the work he had done that he crouched down the threshold and also fell asleep. So soundly that he slept all through the short summer night. Fully, the summer night, though it is wounded, because the wounded is given first aid treatment, the man was silently sleeping. When he awoke in the morning, it was long before he could remember where he was, who was the strange bearded man lying on the bed, gazing intently at him with the shining eyes. The king also felt asleep, but he could not guess who is the person who is besiding near him. He forgot about the man whom he helped. Clear. So continuation is there. Clear, children? So actually the king helped the wounded man. He forgot about it because so far he never did any work like that because of the tiredness, because he was digging a pit as well as helping the wounded man, and he was very tired and fast asleep. The wounded man also lying on the side of the king. So as soon as in the morning king got up and found somebody was lying near him. He doesn't know who's that, where he was. He forgot everything and recollecting that he came to the hermit. In the meantime, a wounded person has come. He helped the wounded person with the hermit. So let me continue in other class, children.